Sony literally just came out and said they're not going to release any 200 million type blockbuster movies as long as the current pandemic is happening. If you thought movies moving out of 2020 was bad, wait until they start moving out of 2021. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Smash that like button and let's get right into this. Now, if you've been an avid viewer of the live streaming channel where we live stream every day, 10 a.m., Monday through Friday, you'll know that we've been talking a lot about all the changes coming to Hollywood, how tumultuous the box office situation actually is. And I've been telling you guys some pretty crazy things, like I think Wonder Woman's going to move. I told you that on Monday. I also said I thought Black Widow would probably move on Monday. And it maybe was Monday or Tuesday when I said, you know, I really think a lot of these movies are going to start moving even out of 2021, and that move that we saw Star Wars Celebration make from not just delaying to next year but delaying till 2022 might actually be the smart move. And Sony just literally came out and made statements saying more or less we're not going to release any $200 million big box office type of a movie until this whole situation is over with. Now, I saw this pop up from The Direct, and shout out to Jacob's Quest on Twitter for letting us know about this article. It says here, Comic Book Resources reporting via The Wrap that Bank of America's 2020 Media, Communications, and Entertainment Conference, Sony Pictures Entertainment Chairman Tony Vicaquera said, "What we won't do is make the mistake of putting a very, very expensive $200 million movie out in the market unless we're sure the theaters are open and operating at significant capacity. This means that SpiderMan 3 and Venom 2 will not be released in theaters until the pandemic is over, meaning that their 2021 release dates may not stay very long. The less than stellar box office performance of Tenet and Mulan in theaters likely plays a part in this new announcement. You'll see a lot of strange things happen over the next 6 months in how films are released, how they're scheduled, and how they're marketed. But once we go back to normal, we will have learned a lot, I think, and found ways to do things that are somewhat different and hopefully better." Okay, so that is the report, and I guess at its baseline level, it probably means don't expect Venom 2 coming out early next year. Don't expect Morbius, and so long as things are being affected still by shutdowns and by safety precautions, or just in general, the audience's unwillingness to go out to a theater, you likely won't see any big movie from Sony. Now, this means possibly that other studios will follow suit. Look, Warner Brothers is super duper not happy with what happened with Tenet. Like, there's no way to paint that in a positive light. Like, the Tenet situation is really, really bad. Now, I know some of you out there are like, oh, no, it's okay. Look, you're just flatly wrong. And we don't even have to really go there to explain to you why you're wrong. The simple fact is, if Wonder Woman moves, it is directly because of what happened with Tenet. You think the people that are actually spending this money and making this money are going to be unsure of what the data means? No, they're specifically looking at what happened with Tenet, and they're going to tell you if it was good or bad by what happens with Wonder Woman and the rest of their slate. Similarly, we will know what happened with Mulan by what Disney decides to do with Black Widow. If it was bad for Mulan on digital purchase, then they're not going to put Black Widow on Disney Plus in the same way later this year. They're simply not going to do it. And the reason is because it's dollars and cents, ladies and gentlemen. They're spending X amount. They spent that money living in a world, existing in a world where they expected to make X amount. They are now making way, way less. And what all of them are hoping is that on the other side of this thing, things go back to normal. They can't afford to lose 70 to 80% of the money they thought they were going to make. That's just not going to work. Now, specifically for Sony, this might not be the worst thing in the world for them, and it really depends on their relationship with Marvel as to how long they can delay things and when they can release things, because this is what's really interesting. Kevin Feige is a producer on SpiderMan 3. There's some connective tissue there between SpiderMan 3 and the MCU. There could be a ton of connective tissue there, right? We don't really know. But regardless, if there are spoilers in Spider-Man 3, Feige will not allow that film to come out and spoil things for MCU movies. Like, there's no way that's going to happen. So Sony themselves may be handicapped even further along if Marvel has to delay stuff just like Sony is doing. And also, another interesting aspect to this is the fact that the Disney Plus shows for Marvel are probably going to be ready to go. They're also probably easier to make than some of the movies, but they still can't be released ahead of some of these films because there is built-in connective tissue between the shows and the movies. So unless Marvel figures out how to downplay that connective tissue in order to allow the Disney Plus content to come out without the films, they're not going to do it, right? And the other side of this is they run the risk of having so much content come out on Disney Plus that their original audience for the movies begins to get trained to just want to watch digital. And so that's a whole nother aspect to this thing, is that the studios are trying to keep the theater experience alive because they think they can make much more money in the theaters. There are a lot of factors as to why digital isn't killing it the same way as the theaters. There's piracy, there's this lack of FOMO because you can eventually just get it free or at a reduced price. There's all sorts of different reasons, not to mention the fact that during 2020, a lot of audience members found other types of content. They're playing more video games, they're listening to more podcasts, they're doing all sorts of weird stuff online. And so it's really interesting that a lot of the changes that were probably going to happen naturally with digital are now being accelerated because of the pandemic, right? It's a really interesting thing. And so we wanted to bring this story to you. Of course, this is terrible news, right? Of course, it's terrible news. It's something that I've been sort of talking about as a possibility for a while, and we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, look, if they turn around and say, no, we're sticking Black Widow in November, if Wonder Woman doesn't actually get delayed, then maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe there's something they're seeing in the data and they're like, no, we can make this work. It's all good. So from what it looks like now, Sony ain't putting nothing out until people start going back to the movie theaters, and who knows when that will be. I expect Warner Brothers and Disney and a lot of other studios to more or less follow suit, and that vacuum of entertainment, if it really does last deep into 2021, what will that do to media? What will that do to you as a fan? I gotta know, guys. Crazy times we're living in, but I wanted to bring this report to you, so let us know what you're thinking in the comments section below. And now let's shout out the Musty Creative. Yes, indeed, the original screenwriter for The Force Awakens was Michael Arndt. And yeah, I would have loved to see that original script too. And now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, what was the original theatrical date given to Venom 2? Answer that question in the comment section below. If you like this video, make sure you drop a like on it. And if you're enjoying the content over here, you will absolutely love the live streams we do straight from Nerdvengers Tower, Monday through Friday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.